Pretty stoked on some key art.
Some key art?
Yeah, there's some imagery of you like just fighting like a badass that got sent around.
Oh,
Have you not seen it?
No. I don't see the show. I don't see what people tell me about these things.
It looks like you're in full-blown war.
Wow.
So,
Sounds cool.
So how has that been going into this? I know there's going to be a lot of action, and that seems to be where you two get called in a lot to specialize. How's that been as the show's grown, getting to become the two big action leads on the show?
It used to be like that action day used to be something that would get your heart pumping. It still does, but now it's almost like a day at the park, like it's going to the playground, jumping around.
I
love it.
Yeah.
It's absolutely the best. I miss not being on the dirt bike as much because that always sort of pushed my boundaries of where I was comfortable. Well, I would kind of do that to myself, but I love doing the action stuff. In these first two episodes, we got to do a lot of shooting, which we'd done a lot of action in the past, but we hadn't shot in a while.
It's actually nice they dealt with the love triangle by putting us on the field together a lot, and so we got to work out a lot of that awkward tension on the field.
Is it still going to be there when you go in? Because I feel like it wasn't really necessarily dealt with. The last two episodes is so back and forth.
It's still all tangled up. Yeah. And we'll be for a little while. Yeah. And then we'll add another member into the triangle. So it keeps on keeping on.
That's a square.
It is a square.
It's a square. And how does Maggie feel about this? I mean, she's obviously in the middle.
Yeah.
Does she? Do you know? Can you tease anything about what she's feeling like going into that?
Well, she's got these spikes, and they're driving her completely nuts, and she's getting used to the fact that they're giving her superhuman strength, and the rest of the second mass is liking the fact that she's better out there as a warrior, and her and Ben make a great team. And the arc for Maggie has a lot to do with just desperately wanting to know what are her own feelings and what are these foreign magnetic forces. So that's kind of Maggie's position in the triangle. She sees the spikes as the problem, and she wants to deal with the spikes. And that's kind of and she loves Hal. That doesn't ever stop. But Hal gets distracted.
Well, Hal's put in an odd situation, a tough situation, because he's having to pick between the girl that he loves more than anybody else in the world and his brother, who he has a great amount of love for as well. So I kind of found myself playing Hal in this weird middle area of just having to let that happen. That they have this magnetic attraction to each other that neither one of them can really explain. They sure don't do a good job trying to explain it, but I just have to let it be its thing. And obviously that's not the best way to deal with things, and things get a little complicated, and as the season progresses, I get separated from everybody else and meet someone else. And we have to see how that all unfolds.
Now that we're here at the final season, and we can kind of look back at the show in a little bit of retrospect, do you guys have kind of favorite moments that you had a chance to work on, or if your characters got nostalgic and misty-eyed, what would they remember?
I mean, a lot of the stuff I did was with you, and there's so many scenes that I just love working with you on, and the amount of love that our two characters had for each other. It was so easy to find the depth of those relationships when it was on the page, just because everything that you and I had. It's great stuff, and then all the Evil House stuff, that was just so different than anything that I had ever done, not even the show, but I don't get called in for those kind of characters, even for auditions. So to be able to play that, that was incredibly fun. And the action stuff, working with Noah, and we can just go on and on. We really had an amazing group of people all working together who cared so much about the show, no matter what we were dealing with. We wanted it to be as good as possible. We succeeded sometimes, maybe not as much others, but we always were 100% in it with our hearts, and that just made every day so enjoyable.
I was wondering when the cameras are out here, Sarah, you have a musical theater background, right? Now, in between takes, has Sarah performed for you guys, to entertain you guys?
Well, that's the hardest part is she'll start busting out the song, and I'm trying to remember my lines.
Do you miss that world, Sarah? Do you miss that world? Are you planning to come back now that it's final season?
Well, I don't do musical theater so much as I do my own music.
Yeah.
And I make sure that I keep it balanced. It's great. I get the best of it.
I feel like last season, obviously there were a lot of threats happening, but one overarching one was Lexi, and now Lexi, as far as we can tell, is no longer. So, can you take the threat that's going to be in this final chapter? I mean, what are they fighting for now? What's their end goal, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, as we know, the power core is down, so that's going to affect the way that they can attack us, and so they change up their tactics, and we actually find ourselves having to go really hand to hand with just an enormous amount of skitters. They are just taking all the forces and focusing them on us, not really having to worry about the beamers anymore, not the mechs, because those are offline. So it created a different style of battle that we had to fight, which is very up close and personal and quite fun to shoot, because all of our aliens, when they're close, like not running really fast, it's a practical suit. There's a guy in it, so there's somebody to interact with, and it just makes it that much more fun for us as opposed to a ball on a stick that somebody's coming at you and you're afraid of.
In the climate of today's TV world, it's very rare for a genre show to get 5 seasons, and I think a big part of that was how much the cast connected with their fan base, and you two, more than most, have been at like every con and every interview opportunity and really getting out there and promoting the show in a way that not a lot of shows get love from their cast. What was it about this community of fans that rallied around this that made you want to be so engaged with them?
That's an interesting question.
I love that question.
It really is so gratifying just to hear what people think about the show. Because we're up there shooting, and we know what we're doing, we know the scope of what it is, but you don't really feel that. You know, it's just us up there doing our thing. And I feel like our fans are quite respectful as well when you're just out in public. I have a lot of people that I'm with will say, oh, that guy just recognized you. They don't come up and say anything. So a lot of times you sort of feel like you're living in your own little world, that you're on a show, but you never really hear anything back. Whereas when you come here, it's so fun to just talk about it. Hear what it is.
The other thing is, I was just saying this to Drew, it's nice to be able to tell the fans what we're actually thinking. Like, you know, they cut it in the way they cut it, and we add so much subtext to what is on the page. And because the fans are actually curious and asking the questions, it's a thrill for us to give them the answers and just know that somebody's watching and keeping track of all the work that we're really doing. So yeah, it's gratifying.